people think it's like spiritual woo-woo, or whatever, but like no one ever challenges, like when you think about your day-to-day job and work, like we make 90-day plans all the time. We make personal development plans all the time, and it's essentially just the same thing but visual, isn't it? So, if you're saying you need to achieve X, Y, and Z by the end of the quarter, how is creating a vision board any different? It's just the same thing but a personal one.
Welcome to Off the Hanger, the fashion podcast where we dive deep into our guests' wardrobes, finding out their favourite fashion pieces and the stories behind them. Before we get started with this week's episode, if you're enjoying Off the Hanger, please like, subscribe, comment, leave a rating or a follow. Any of those good things really does help me when I am booking future guests. But on to this week's episode. We're chatting to the wonderful Helen Hope. She's had the most incredible career in fashion, working for global brands. She's established her own businesses, and she also now does amazing content creation, really specializing for those in midlife who love a bit of classic dressing. So you'll have to check her out on Instagram afterwards. But I do hope you enjoy this episode. Helen, thank you so much for joining us on Off the Hanger. Really lovely to chat to you today. Before we dive into your wardrobe, I want to know all about your fashion career, because you have worked for incredible brands, not just in the UK, but globally.
Yeah, so my career actually started out as a children's wear designer for Tesco. Did that for a few years, about 3 years, and then moved into sort of like product development, and then actually decided to move back up north where my roots are from. So I started my own jewellery company called Hope and Winkle, and it was a small little boutique in Liverpool. And then I met somebody, and that took me off travelling around the world. So I went around ended up in the Middle East for 10 years. And then sort of my career really kind of like danced around. So a bit of a squiggly career. So I went and worked for a sports fashion retailer called Go Sports. If you've been to the Middle East, you'll know those like stores are like really experiential. And then I moved to another brand called Namshi, which is a little bit like the Middle Eastern equivalent of ASOS. Worked there for a little period. And then I decided I wanted a complete career change and I wanted to move into marketing. So when I finally decided to come back to the UK, I went to work for Fraser's Group. I'm now working for a company called M Brown. But I've also had my own businesses in between that as well. So I launched a fashion brand in Debenhams in Mall of Emirates in the Middle East. That was called Heart Knocks. And I've also had a mental health business. So I've kind of done quite a few different little things over the last like 10, 15 years of my career.
But I do think we should really normalise the idea of that nobody's career path is straight. They're all squiggly. And I think you kind of come out of like school or college or university with this very concrete idea of how your career path's going to go and how it's going to be. And it's always going to be this kind of upward trajectory. And actually, it's really not. And when you speak to anybody who is successful at anything, it's always a squiggly journey. It's never a straightforward line.
It's actually really typical of people who are neurodiverse as well. But maybe it's like it's terrible to say it, but like they're not finishing anything part of neurodiversity, like they get excited by new creative ideas. So like they tend to sort of move on to different things. I'm dyslexic, and I'm also about to get tested for ADHD as well. And I think that's something that it's definitely probably had an impact on my career, because I'm always coming up with new ideas, and a lot of the time people can't keep up with me because they're like, "Oh, you're doing that now?" But it seems to have I feel like it's been an asset in my career, because now the role that I do, because I'm working for a big retailer, I've worked in design, so I've worked with creatives before. I've been part of the buy-in process as well, so I really understand those relationships, managing those stakeholder relationships. And then marketing, having launched my own businesses, like you learn a hell of a lot about running different channels. I feel like it's really helped me actually on my journey.
It does sound that way. It's given you actually a really good grounding of knowledge in all different areas, which then you're able to apply to the job that you're doing. And it gives you that wider understanding of people.
Yes.
Which I think is so important. So I think, if people are watching and they think, oh, I want to work in fashion, just know that it's never a straight line. It's always a really squiggly up and down journey. And sometimes you go 5 steps back and only make 1 step forward. And actually, as long as you're learning throughout the entire process, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, definitely. And like, and through the back door as well, you know, like I know so many people that have started in the fashion industry through doing really random jobs, and it's just like set them off on a, you know, a new career trajectory. I know somebody who used to just work the shop floor at Reese and then became like really high up in the company, like working down in London. So just goes to show you never really know like what those kind of like small roles that you take at the start of your career are going to lead on to. Yeah.
And did you always want to work in fashion?
Pretty much, yeah. Like I was from a very young age. I mean, I've got two sisters, and I was always the hand-me-down kid. So I always got given everything that they wore, and I never was able to have my own stamp on my own style. My mum used to dress us in basically this. We weren't twins, but there was only 3 years between me and my middle sister Laura, and we used to just get dressed in the same outfit. So it was always like the twinning polka dot tee or the twinning stripy tee or the parrot jeans. And so I always really like had this craving of like wanting to have my own identity and my own style. And I think that's what led it on to an interest. I've always been really creative as well. So one of my earliest memories is being sat on like the steps of the school with a little pad and sketching out like sunflower tees, you know, like t-shirts with sunflower designs on them. So it's always been in me, I think. Yeah, always just had that creative streak.
Oh, I love that. I'm also one of three girls, so I
Okay.
was all and the youngest, so I was very firmly in the place of hand-me-down kid. And there's only 18 months between each of us, so we were all so close in age that we were all just dressed identically.
Yeah,
And yeah, I couldn't wait to not have to wear my sister's clothes.
feel you.
What is the oldest thing in your wardrobe?
So, because I've moved around quite a lot, like I'm one of these people that I don't really hold on to things for a long period of time, whether that's a good or a bad thing, whether it's donating or you know reselling or things like that. Because I lived abroad, trying to bring things back with me wasn't the easiest. So, oldest thing probably in my parents' house that I own is a purple backless vintage dress that when I studied fashion and I tailored this dress and it seemed like a great idea at the time, but now I look back at it, I literally look like a Cadbury's wrapper or something. It was that perfect. So I'd say that's probably the oldest thing I own that's somewhere in my parents' house. But oldest thing I probably own in my own apartment is a dress that I bought. It was the first year I moved to Dubai, and there's a picture of me stood on my friend's balcony. And you know when you just feel amazing in something, and like it wasn't that expensive. It was just a dress from ASOS, but I've still got it. I've actually got it here, and I just felt amazing in it. Like it's got cute little details, like strap details on it, and I'm still craving the day that I can squeeze back into this because I think it's like a size 8 or a 10. But I'm hoping one day I'll get back into it.
Oh, it's a really nice colour though. It's an interesting shade, and I think sometimes there is that thing with ASOS where you just find absolute little gems
Yes.
that are just like completely different or completely unique, and that you're just like, this is great. I love this piece.
And isn't it funny how you can get pieces of clothing where you can just really attach a memory to it of like how you felt and you just can't bear to like part with it. Like it's something that you just want to keep in your wardrobe forever, no matter what, whether it fits or not.
Yeah, I have plenty of those where I'm like, you don't fit me, but I will never part with you.
You're going nowhere.
You're going away. You will stay forever. Now, what's the piece in your wardrobe that gets the most compliments?
Most compliments, probably. I mean, I'm quite a statement piece girl, so I'll show you some things I've got here. So, like on a night out, I like a sparkle. So, I bought this last Christmas from Marks and Spencer's, like sparkly silver jacket. But the year before, I had like the pants equivalent because Marks and Spencer's does quite a nice job of kind of bringing them back, doesn't it, in different ways. But I'd say probably the thing that I got the most compliments on recently is actually sorry, I know I'm off screen here, but is these over the knee boots, like silvery sparkly boots. And like I wore them for my 40th birthday party and they're just a bit outrageous, you know, like they're not something that I would wear every single day, but I feel like the sparkles kind of it probably speaks to my personality a little bit, I'd like to think.
I love an over the knee boot. I
Love
love
it.
a good thigh boot. I think they're such a good statement, and you've got me with sparkles. I think
Yeah.
they're a great piece. Do you spend quite a lot on your wardrobe? What is the most expensive piece you have? You obviously don't need to share how much unless you want to spill the tea.
I think like I'm kind of balanced really. Like I'm from Liverpool, so like I've got my Scouse roots. Like I grew up not having bags of cash, so I've always like been a bit frugal with money. But there are if I see something that's a bit different or that I really love, like I don't mind spending a little bit more on that. And I'm an avid shopper. I'm always like looking. I'm always shopping. So if I bought really expensive things all the time, I'd be absolutely on my knees. Wouldn't be able to pay my mortgage. But probably the most expensive thing I've ever bought is what part of my handbag collection. So this was one of my favourite handbags in my collections, my YSL, and it's not the fact that it's YSL or that the fact that it's designer that I love it. I just really love the quality of the leather, like the look of. I always when I moved to Dubai, that was always the bag I had in my brain that I was one day I'm going to be able to afford to buy. So when I got it, it was like this real kind of like again emotional attachment to like an item or a thing. But since then, I've sort of added to my collection. So I'd say handbags are really my thing. And but even if it was just like a leather handbag, like a really good quality leather handbag from like a non-designer brand, that would get me dead excited as well. Bit of a bag geek.
I think it can be quite a mark of achievement, though, when you
Oh
get
yeah,
to that point in your career that you go, right, I've got this job or I've managed to save up all this money. I'm now going to treat myself and get that piece. And
yeah,
you do hang on to them for a lifetime because you're like, I really link that moment of my life and that level of success that allowed me to afford that bag
yeah,
within the bag itself. And I think you've got such a great choice there. It's such a lovely classic shape,
yeah.
but an interesting color and a beautiful texture that I think, yeah, you will have it for a lifetime. So price per wear, you're going to be fine.
Absolutely. And like I had similar equivalents to like when I was at university. That I mean, vintage was huge when I was at uni studying fashion. So it was kind of you always looking for those little cherry pieces that nobody else had. And I had this it was like a long, almost like a file of facts. Like it looked like a bag, but the whole front of it was like quilted in different pieces of snake skin leather, all like patchwork together. And I felt the exact same way about that bag, and it cost me probably 20, 30 pounds, so it doesn't matter the value, does it? If it's something that you can see it's going to be in your wardrobe for a really long time, and you can see it's going to go with lots of things, and it feels unique to you, then yeah, that's kind of what motivates me when I'm shopping.
I feel I'm very similar in that sense that it's never about the cost of a piece.
Yeah,
And that's not to say that I've got loads of money and that I can just frivolously go buy loads of designer things. I genuinely haven't. But it's about how the piece makes me feel and how I'm attracted to that piece. Like I have a pair of leopard print heels that I
yeah.
bought in the Primark sale for £3, and they sit very proudly on my shelf in between a pair of Louboutins and Jimmy Choos. And like I would never get rid of them. I love them. I think they're absolutely great, these shoes. And it's nothing to do with how much they cost. It was to do with like how I feel when I'm wearing them.
Do you feel like when people ask you where they're from, and do you have this like sense of pride of like I only paid £3 for them?
Oh, I'm absolutely that person. I'm absolutely that person. If somebody asks me or says, where's that thing from, I will give you all of the details. There is no gatekeeping here.
Yeah,
If it was from a sample sale, I'll tell you how to find out that sample sale, how to sign up to the mailing list. I'll tell you how to get a discount code. Like I am all for sharing. I
you're the
don't
girl's girl.
Yeah, I don't believe in this whole idea of like gatekeeping things. And I do feel bad. Like I've got a particular skirt, and every time I wear this skirt, people always ask me about this skirt. But I bought it on Vinted and it doesn't
Yeah.
have a label in it.
Oh,
And so I've Google reversed searched the skirt so that I can tell people when they ask me where the skirt is from. But I
nice.
do have to say it's super old and I bought it on Vinted. But if you Google this, you should be able to find one or one similar.
Similar. Yeah,
Because yeah, share the information. Don't hold on to it.
absolutely.
Now, what's the newest addition in your wardrobe?
Newest edition. So probably these trainers.
Oh, they're cool.
Yeah, they are a bit different. So they're a brand called Sorrel. I mean, I wasn't familiar with the brand before I bought them, but we actually sold them online for the business that I work for. But the thing I really love about them is that they've got like a tortoise shell. They're a bit dirty, so excuse the soul.
Don't worry.
They've got tortoise shell detail, like like along the edging, and they're that kind of buttery, kind of yellow, creamy color that everybody's going for at the moment. So that's probably the newest, most exciting thing in my wardrobe.
I think they're really fun. I love the difference in those. And I think, weren't Sorrel traditionally more of like an outdoor hiking-y brand? I love that they're moving into more fashion-forward pieces as well.
Yeah, they've even got a range of sandals out at the moment, but they're a bit sketchy, like with straps and things like that. But they're quite cool. I like them. A bit different.
They look great. I'll have to have a little nosy. What's the most sentimental piece in your wardrobe? Obviously, you've moved quite a lot.
Yeah.
You've not managed to hang on to everything, but is there something in your wardrobe that you would never part with?
Yeah, there's this. It's not the only one that I own, but my fashion brand was Heart Knocks, so it was like a huge achievement launching that brand in Debenhams. So definitely like one of my own t-shirts, I would say, is the most sentimental thing I own in there. I just remember the feeling of like I'm really into visualization and manifestation and vision boards, and I created a vision board about 4 years earlier before I'd launched my business, and it was a picture of a woman. I just thought she looked really confident, like she achieved something, she was successful, and I didn't realize then what I was actually doing. And she stood behind this table with her t-shirts, and she's just sort of like leaning forward, on her t-shirts. And as I say, I created it 4 years before. I had no intention of creating a t-shirt business, but I've got the exact same picture of myself stood behind my table in Debenhams the day that I launched my collection. And like I still, every time I look at it, I've got goosebumps now, even just like telling the story, like because it was felt like such a milestone moment for me. So
Was it intentional to take the picture, or did you take the picture of yourself and then afterwards realize that it
yeah,
was the matching picture?
completely. Like there's a really freaky story like attached to this vision board. I was in a relationship at the time, and we both separately gone to see a psychic, and the psychic brought up this vision board and said, your girlfriend's got this piece of paper, you should ask her about it. So when he got home, he asked me, and I was mortified because it had like pictures of babies and like dogs and like that, the whole shebang. And he went upstairs anyway. It's in this room, and he found it, and he was Scottish, and I just heard him go, no way, like the stairs. And he came downstairs and had this vision board in front of me, and we like had the pictures of the t-shirts and everything on there. And anyway, long story short of it, turns out that I'd actually put a picture of a guy in a kilt, like this tall, dark, and handsome Scottish person, not knowing that I was going to meet him. He wasn't tall. Um, and I was in a relationship with him, but it turns out that the guy who was in the picture was actually one of his childhood best friends, who was a fashion model in Australia, a guy called Callum. I don't know if we can say his name, maybe edit that bit out. But yeah, he was on the vision board. So there's loads of freaky things that came true off the back of this vision board, including obviously launching my fashion brand in Debenhams.
That's an incredible story. It
Yeah.
must have been so firmly rooted in your subconscious that when you actually got to that point of being in the story, you were like, well, this is how I'm going to take my picture. And then it was, yeah,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I used to have it like stuck to the back of my wardrobe actually. So like whenever I would open my wardrobe to get clothes, like it would just be there. So when you see something, it's almost like not even there because it's there every single day, and it just became like that. I still make them to this day. I've got one on my phone now. Like it's my screensaver, and it's there every single day. So yeah, maybe I'll achieve some of the things on here too.
I have mine is the wallpaper of my laptop.
Love that.
Yeah,
So every time
wallpaper. Every time I open my laptop, it's just there, and I get to kind of look at all the things. So yeah, it's very cool. I'm very much into it. I think it's one of those things that whether you believe in manifestation or not, I think actually making these vision boards just helps you get clarity on the things that you want in life and the things that are important to you, whether or not you believe that you can manifest them into your life or not is, by the by. I think they're always a really useful thing to make because you get that kind of that time of thinking about the things that you actually really want and what you value in your life.
Yeah, definitely. Like people think it's like spiritual woo woo, or whatever, but like no one ever challenges, like when you think about your day to day job and work, like we make 90-day plans all the time. We make personal development plans all the time. And it's essentially just the same thing, but visual, isn't it? So, if you're saying you need to achieve X, Y, and Z by the end of the quarter, how is creating a vision board any different? It's just the same thing, but a personal one, personal development plan as opposed to like a work or goal, sorry, a work related goal orientated plan. So
Yeah, I think that's really true actually. I'd never thought of it like that, but it is really accurate that we are open in business to creating these plans, but we don't think about how we're going to develop ourselves. And I
yeah.
think people get caught up in this idea of, I don't know, like bettering yourself, like you must go to the gym to better yourself or you must do that to better yourself. But actually having these ideas of this is my plan to better myself in all areas, not just the way that I physically want to look. I think it's actually a really good thing. I haven't made one for a while. Mine's not been updated in a while, so maybe after this I might give a
Oh,
look.
you need to get on,
Yeah,
get on
yeah, please
it.
get on it. Maybe assess it, see if I've managed to secure any of those goals that were on there. Now, what's the thing in your wardrobe that most sums you up?
Most sums me up. Probably, I mean, some of the sparkly pieces that I've shown you. I like things that are a little bit quirky. So like, like I'm not the girl that say the Adidas Gazelle trainers come out. Like I'm not the girl that'll probably get the color that everybody else wants. I'll get the random color that nobody else wanted because like I always like to feel like it's a little bit different or unique to me. Otherwise, like why buy it? Because why do you want to just look like everybody else? So like there's nothing wrong with like following trends or like having that classic style. And I do think I do have quite a classic look, but I think after studying fashion and textiles for so many years, like you really come to appreciate the quality of materials. So I think like when I'm looking for something that really like would sum me up, it would be something that's just really good quality, that's going to last a long time. Don't get me wrong, I've got a few of those kind of like fast fashion throwaway pieces, but whenever I buy something, I'm the first person to sort of whip out the label and check what like the fabric composition is. I'm like a geek like that. So yeah, that probably just really quality. I'd say something that sums me up as well.
It's a really good answer. Also, I'm the same. Literally, I have just bought some gazelles, but the colorway that I liked, they don't make in the adults one. So because my feet are small enough to get juniors, I ordered like junior ones. I've bought kids ones because I could get my feet in there, but they only did this colorway in the kids. They did the reverse in the adults, but that
Yeah.
wasn't what I wanted. I wanted the kids ones. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I like to have those pieces that feel a little bit different and a little
Yeah.
bit quirky. And one of, we talk a lot about this idea of you have three words that define your style. And for me, one of my words is always fun.
Yeah, I love
Always fun.
that.
I've got to think something's fun, whether it's fun and it's slightly silly or it's a bit ridiculous or it's over the top or it's really colorful, whatever it is, as long as I feel it's fun, then I'm like, that's what I'm going for.
Love that.
Now, have you had a wardrobe malfunction or a fashion faux pas that you would like to share with us?
I've had many.
It's what I like to hear. Come join
Yeah.
the club.
Oh God, I've had several. Like I could literally list off like I feel like there's been lots of different versions of Helen over the years. And I think like as I've got older now, I've really settled into my like who I am and my style. I've literally had every hair color on the planet. When I was at college and at university, like I'd just kind of broken out of that. I went to an all girls religious school, and we all had these like purple blazers. So it was very like copy paste. You couldn't, and again, liking to have my own stamp on things and liking to have my own look. There was just none of that at school. So when I left school and I got into college and I was around all these really creative, like fashion students, I definitely dipped my toe in like lots of different trends. So the first one I would probably say was the cut off. I don't mean as in like leggings tights, I mean tights. So like that 80s kind of like, but it wasn't the 80s. So I used to wear like but like almost like puff ball skirts with like these cut off tights. And I had a bowl cut fringe like at the same time. I used to make a lot of my own clothes as well. So I had these like big uh, I'd buy like suiting material, like from a place called Abercan in Liverpool, and I'd make these kind of big hoop skirts, like big full skirts, but I'd buy loads of vintage brooches and I'd pin up half the skirt like on one side and have loads of brooches. And I think if anybody saw you walking down the street looking like that now, they'd probably raise a few eyebrows. But so there's been a few like that, but probably one of the worst, well, actually two. So when Christina Aguilera's Genie in a Bottle album came out, I used her album cover as my eyebrow goals and basically plucked every single one of my eyebrows out until they were as thin as hers. And obviously they don't grow back, so these are fully microbladed for anybody watching. But the worst one I've ever done was about a month before my sister's wedding. I've got an older sister who's 13 years older than me. And I decided that I was going to there was a TV show at the time called The Salon that was on telly. I don't know if you remember it. And it was all about
Oh,
hairdressing.
yes, I remember this. Yes,
Yeah,
I
they
remember.
were all really cool and edgy. And there was this blonde, I don't know what her name was, but I just thought she was incredible. Like she used to wear like little neck scarves and she had this like almost like a Donald Duck's bottom like haircut where it was all kind of poking up at the front, like a mullet at the back, and it was platinum blonde. And I was like, she is just the coolest thing ever. So I decided to copy her haircut, and my sister's wedding was in a month. So she's basically never forgiven me. And the day of the wedding, they had to sort of like pin all these tufty bits of hair down and braid it down just to make me look like part of the wedding party and not like some sort of like punk rock chick in a A-lined bridesmaid's dress.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I think there's so many absolutely tragic photos of me with awful hair, just like horrendous hair. Not necessarily cuts, because I've always just been really super boring with cutting my hair. I've either always had long hair or I very temporarily have had short hair, but just styling traumas of things
Yeah.
that I've done to my hair that I thought, this is going to look great. And like photos of me, I found a load of little Polaroids the other day and I was just like, wow, wow. So pleased these are not on the internet.
My nephew came round a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's trending again to get a mullet, and he'd like for boys, and he'd got a mullet, and I was like, "You're going to look back at those pictures one day, and
Yeah.
you're going to regret that."
Yeah, you were just like, I have secondhand trauma looking at your mullet. What are your favourite shoes? Do you love a heel? Are you a trainer's girl? What do you like?
Well, I was a sports buyer for many years. So obviously, I said earlier, I worked for Go Sport. And the irony is that when I used to go to the selling meetings, they basically used to try and throw trainers at me because I just wouldn't wear them. Like I've always been a heels girl. And like only probably in the last, I'd say like year, I'm just slowly starting to dip my toe into, I'm commuting now to Manchester. So I can't, I get the train every day. So I just can't do the whole kind of like, high tall heels. So I've just like you see, and I've slowly started to dip myself into some of the trainers that are out at the moment, but again trying to find something that's a bit more me. But I recently just bought these in the last week actually. So this is very neutral trainer for me actually, but I really like them. They're quite classic, little Puma number. So I've not tried them on yet. I've not actually worn them. They're still in the box, but they're going to be one of my next reels that I probably do some content around. But yeah, I would say like through and through a heel girl. But as I've got older, I'm definitely entering into my comfort era where it's comfort over the striking outfits
There's
these days.
nothing wrong with that. I think we can blend both. But you
Yes.
touched on it there, actually. I would really like to just pick up on about your socials and the content you create, because you do really fabulous styling videos and like fashion videos, but it is more geared towards the idea of midlife. It's not that, I think so many people you see are, this is the current trend and you've got to wear this trend exactly as it is and blah, blah. And I think yours are really interesting because that's not the angle you're taking at all.
Yeah, no, as I've touched on, like I've always had quite a classic base of a style with like few little extras. So I like to show people what they can do with like, things they've already got in their wardrobe, but then add, the odd little accessory in there or, try and tweak it with a bag or, because that's how I style my wardrobe around probably my handbags 90% of the time. Like if I have a wedding to go to, I'll buy the handbag first and then I'll find the outfit to go with it. But I think the reason why I started doing social media was because I wanted to sort of highlight, like, I'm a woman in my 40s now, I'm single, I'm probably not like the the cliche kind of 40-year-old woman. I'd say, I'm not married and got kids. I've probably got I spend my income in a different sort of way. So I kind of wanted to show how I live my life and like what that looks like as a 40-year-old woman for me. And that'll be different for everybody, on their journey as well. There's lots of influencers, like mummy influencers, that focus on that type of content. So I'm just showing my kind of version of how I live my life as a single 40-year-old woman.
I like that. I like that everybody has their own little corner of the internet, and no matter who you resonate with, you'll always find those people who love your content and go, actually, I love that style. I like getting the ideas and the tips and everything that you do. So I think it's great. I think it's great to have your own individual
Yeah.
niche of your
There's,
content.
there's no bigger compliment as well as like when somebody reaches out to you and says, oh, like, I loved, like, I just got a message just before we jumped on this call, and I'd spoken about a concealer product that I'd been using the other day that I'd just bought. And somebody asked me, can you tell me the name of that product again? And there's no bigger compliment, I think, like when somebody is asking you, like, where did you get that from? Or like, how did you get that look? So I feel it really excites me. It's like a nice new kind of chapter and journey for me, like in addition to my career.
Oh, it's great. Keep going with it.
Thanks.
What is the dream fashion item that you would love to own, irrespective of cost, practicality, availability? You can have it from any time period. What would you have if the universe could just gift you something?
It's going to be a handbag,
I was
isn't
going to
it?
say, I guess it's a handbag.
It's going to be a handbag of some description. I think, like, not to be that cliche girl, but like the Hermes Kelly or something like that. And anything really that's, a Hermes. Hermes. I'm Scouse, so I can't say it how I'm supposed to say it.
Oh,
But
my pronunciation of designer brands is all over. Like, I think you just give it your best shot, and people will either get it. And I also feel that nobody should be judged if they don't pronounce it right, because I think that's such a fashion snobbery of
yeah,
when people say, "Oh no, that's not how you say it. You're completely stupid. You're saying it wrong." So we're doing our best. And
yes.
also, there's certain brands that you've never heard anybody say out loud before. So how do you know how to say it unless you actually just give
No,
it a go?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something classic like that, that's like you said earlier, you touched on it, is like, like it's almost like a trophy, isn't it? Like when you've worked so hard and you've managed to like achieve that thing that you wouldn't normally buy, like that's the exciting, to get to that level where you can afford to buy something like that and it feels normal, would be very nice.
Yeah. Crazy money, crazy expensive money.
Easy, easy money.
Now, is there a piece of fashion advice you would have given to your younger self?
Yeah, calm down. Calm down would be the best advice. I think I was on this, like, I think when I left school, I really didn't know who I was. I think I talk a lot about, my public speaking about being neurodivergent and having dyslexia. And I think that really affected my confidence as a kid growing up, and not having the confidence to speak, openly as well, because I didn't trust that the words were going to come out the right way. So I think like I used clothes and fashion as almost this like hero cape, or I don't know what the word is to describe it, but it's like a costume that I used to wear to be able to kind of face every single day. And I think as I've got older and I've grown in confidence and I've achieved more things in my career, that's built my confidence. But I think I definitely use clothes as almost like that crutch when I was at university, and I'd meet somebody and I'd morph into them, like I'd like, oh wow, she's got great style. She looks really confident. Like I want to look just like her, and I'd morph into her. And now I feel like I've created that persona for myself. Like it's like I'm confident in how I dress now. I love what I wear. I like my own style, and I want to be that for other people. I don't want to have to change my hair color every single week to just feel like I fit in or like I look good. So yeah, I'd probably say calm down.
Calm down and just believe in yourself. Believe in your own choices.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. That is lovely advice to finish on. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to give it a rating, a follow, a subscribe, any of the good stuff. See you soon.